So you believe Rahm Emanuel should be held accountable?
Oh, he's got to be held accountable. They did a $5 million settlement with a family that hadn't even sued the city.
Police commissioner's not going to be the only one. There's some more heads that are going to roll.
There is no major city in America with as long a checkered and dark history of political corruption than Chicago. Places like New York, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Miami, and plenty more have seen their share of greed and avarice. But the Windy City stands alone among those places where elected officials literally get away with murder, and where scapegoats are tossed into the meat grinder and the media grinder with the same ease as Cubbies' World Series hopes float in the breeze every year. To the meat of the matter, then, calls for Mayor Rahm Emanuel to get out, questions about why the feds didn't jump in sooner, and rumblings of deep-rooted graft and a connection to the White House. Welcome back the Republican former congressman from Illinois who was born and raised in Chicago, Michael Flanagan. Michael, always a pleasure to get a chance to talk to you. So let's just start right there. When the president looks at what's happening in Chicago, and when we think about the fact that Rahm Emanuel and the president have been tight for a long, long time, don't you just have to question why the DOJ and the feds didn't get involved a whole lot sooner? Looks like they just might have left Rahm Emanuel to get himself out of the mess by himself with his own wiles.
Well, I think they made a decision a long time ago that if they could keep the tape from ever coming out, they wrote a check to the family, this would go away of its own accord. They never talked to the black pastors. They never gave this any air, and it didn't even really fester very well. It took a court order to get the tape out, and it was the tape that was the catalyst for all of this. It came in thunderbolt surprise to them. They weren't ready to deal with it, and they're scrambling now to make it right, and they're screwing it up.
All right, here we go. A white cop and an African-American perpetrator / victim, whatever you want to call them at this point. In other cases in America, the federal government, the President of the United States, has reacted quickly. So has the DOJ. So have other people connected to the president when something like this has happened before. Why not now?
I agree with you. It's an incredibly fair question. It's an incredibly good question. I will say, though, that the U.S. attorney, it came out the last couple of days, has actually had a grand jury open on this for a while. The guy who owns the Burger King, where almost 90 minutes of his tape disappeared, is blurted out at a press conference that he testified before the grand jury, and everybody said, grand jury? What grand jury? And so the U.S. attorney apparently has some fingers in this for a little while, but I don't know what extent he's looking at it, and is it just a civil rights action to him, or is he really looking at this in the hard way it needs to be looked at in the graft corruption box?
Isn't that part of what we need to look at, though? The fact that when there have been other instances in recent history, the government has made a big deal about it. They've come right out and said, we're going to be right on top of this. We've got to make sure that this is kept down. We've got to find the answers. But this time we had to find out when somebody basically fumbled in a question. That's, correct me if I'm wrong here, Mike, but that's a cover-up, no matter how you slice this.
You're not wrong, but let me give you a quick tutorial here on one-party rule, and this is the story of Chicago. The fifth floor, the mayor, is the top of the cake. Everybody works under that. And they get a little graft, they get a little corruption, they get a list, they get a little of that. Honest guys go away or are put aside or kept around as ornaments, but they don't ever really succeed. Who's involved in investigations or who's involved in prosecutions? Chicago Police, wholly owned subsidiary. Cook County Sheriff's Department, almost a wholly owned subsidiary, but just about. The Cook County State's Attorney owes her patronage, the office owes its patronage, and she particularly owes her patronage to the fifth floor. She's never going to do anything about this. That leaves you with the two big kahunas, the Attorney General of the state of Illinois and the Attorney General of the United States. The Attorney General of the state of Illinois in this case is Mike Madigan's daughter. Mike Madigan is the head of the Illinois State House and the most powerful player in Illinois. He wants his daughter to be governor and doesn't want her to get anywhere near running afoul of the fifth floor and all the votes that controls. So what did she do? She punted. She said, she went to the U.S. attorney and said, hey, went to the Attorney General and said, I need an investigation here. Not of the act, not of the murder, not of the fifth floor. I need an investigation of the police department. That'll generate a commission. There'll be lots of talk, a few recommendations, a few people will get their fanny spanked, and that'll be that for that. And everybody's all right. We already fired the police chief, so we got our exit strategy here. The Attorney General seems to be, or her guy there, the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois, seems to have a grand jury open, seems to be doing some work. He's the only check on this system. If he's not taking this investigation seriously, it's not going to happen. My suggestion is that Congress put together a panel to go into Chicago. The House Judiciary Committee, the Crime Subcommittee, should go into Chicago, invite the Chicago delegation, all Democrats, to sit on the commission, to sit on the and be impaneled, and they have an investigation of this out loud to try and drag some of this into the light, because there is no formal authority that's going to show enough nerve to do this right, save perhaps the U.S. Attorney of the Northern District of Illinois.
20 seconds. Everything you just said here, any doubt in your mind whatsoever that Rahm Emanuel survives and has a smile at the end of the day, as crooked as that might be?
I absolutely believe that there are too many cards in his favor. He's on his way to his vacation here. I guess I feel free in saying it because it came out in the press conference he had earlier. He was a little irked that somebody observed he's going to Cuba. His only relief possibly is to go to Cuba and defect. But outside of that, he'll come back and be mayor, and we'll survive it well.
The people of Chicago couldn't be that lucky, quite frankly. Michael Patrick Flanagan, thanks so much for joining us, my friend. We'll talk again real soon. All right, coming up next, we've talked about one thing that everybody is talking about. How about this next? We'll sidle up to the water cooler for maybe the most ridiculous story about movies of the year, next on The Hard Line.